Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Hello and welcome to Primetime Local News. I'm Callum Hawker and thank you for joining us. Lloydminster throughout 2023 experienced lots of change as well as having change on the horizon as we enter the new year. Our Callan Dunlop spoke with the mayor of Lloydminster to recap the year.
Today I'm joined by Gerald Albers, Mayor of Lloydminster. Thank you so much for coming down to the station today.
My pleasure. It's always an enjoyable time to come down to see you rather than you coming to City Council.
And we'll just jump right into it. I wanted to talk about kind of the 2023 and in review. And a lot has happened in Lloydminster over the years. So kind of what are your thoughts on how Lloydminster has been over the past year?
Well, 2023, I think, was a new year from the perspective that a lot of people got back into a routine. We saw a lot of events happen. We saw a great turnout of events, summertime and different programs at Bud Miller, at the arenas, at the facilities throughout the city, as well as just the general mood in the community. We saw a lot of people traveling through this summer, had a lot of events going on. It was really great to see, and the city really came back to what I think people were used to after the last couple of years prior.
And then I also want to talk about your personal highlight of the year. There's a lot to choose from. A lot has happened, a lot of great events as well. So
Yep.
if you could narrow it down to a favorite.
Wow. I guess the biggest one personally was to see the completion of the wastewater treatment plant because that had such an implication on our city, but also on myself as mayor due to some of the federal regulations that had to be met, and the team was able to accomplish that. That was a project in the making over 6 years, 2 different councils. That, to me, that was huge. There's so many other great events, just seeing people gather this summer for the parade. That was an exciting time to be in the parade. I think the streets were lined. We had beautiful weather, from that perspective. The community as a whole is just, it's got some great vibes to it. And I think that's what makes 2023 a really memorable year for myself.
And a lot of change coming specifically in the council chamber with Aaron Buckingham getting the fire chief role. A lot of change coming soon to the council chamber. So on your side of things, how are you feeling about going into this new year with a lot of change?
Well, I think that, change is something that I talk about often, and sometimes we don't have change for 4 years in the form of council, but that's happened now in our 3rd year. Certainly want to thank Aaron Buckingham for his service as a councillor. Great fit for the fire chief, and congratulate him on that new role that he's going into. It's going to open up a position, so there'll be someone new to council. So there's expectations that sharing information, and I know our legislative team will do that. It's an exciting time. We'll also have a general municipal election in the fall of 2024. So there's a lot of things to be considered in the next 11 months. Someone's going to have to consider applying for a very short-term job, really less than 8 months, 7-8 months, and they're going to be back into another election. So lots of interesting discussion in the community. I know people are asking me, have you talked to anybody that's interested? Have they expressed interest? And there's certainly people have expressed interest. So yeah, it'll be an exciting next couple months at City Hall from that perspective, because there's the orientation, getting people up to speed, because there's a lot of information that we share, but there's even that much more information that a person that gets into the elected position needs to be aware of, and the requirements and things like that. So it's a very exciting time going forward because it'll prep us for the fall of 2024.
We've talked about it a lot at council, but I do want to talk about Lloyd on a budget side of things. Financially, how is the Lloyd standing in your opinion?
Well, it's been an interesting number of years, serving 7 years now as mayor. We often discuss this, what you inherit when you come into the role as an elected official, be it a councillor or the mayor, and where we stand. We've seen a lot of changes at City Hall and financial reporting and information that way, and how we're organized somewhat. It has always been an organization, but how do you organize that you feel that it's most effective? And the city manager has done a great job of doing that. you know, I feel comfortable. I always would like to have more money in the bank because of issues that come up and timing. But at the same token, we have reserves. I want to share with people there's two sets of reserves. One's called the restricted reserves that come from offsite levies with development. New development brings offsite levy money to the city, but that also helps secure that money for those major projects like major trunk lines, water, sewer, extending those out and paying for the long haul. Then there's unrestricted reserves that are there for projects like the Cenovus Energy Hub, different projects, be it the downtown and other projects where we just don't have the money sitting. That's that sort of that piggy bank that people have, and I don't want to call it a rainy day fund, it's truly a piggy bank. So trying to manage that, putting some away, but also needing to be able to withdraw. And there's quite a discussion around council administration as to, you know, what is that comfortable level, because government grants, we don't take for granted. We know they come every year, but if they don't come, or if we had a major issue at the water treatment plant, or other facilities, if we had I hope it never happens, we lose a building to a fire, a civic building to a fire. Those are all challenges that all of a sudden pop up, because the expectation is you will have that building, whatever that service. And you know, the city provides a lot of services to people in and around our community. Start with the library, the Vic Juba, the recreation facilities, from arenas to ball diamonds, to all those things, as well as everything we do each and every day, the water, sewer, roads, fire protection and policing. So there's a lot to the city that I think that people don't always think about from that perspective. It's something that, you know, I don't lose sleep over it most nights, but I know council and I and work with administration to ensure that we're getting good value from the taxes, from the tax dollars paid, and what services are delivered, because very seldom do I hear from people that say, boy, I don't think we should have a library, or we shouldn't support the Vic Juba, or yeah, the arenas, there's too many arenas, we should close a couple arenas. Those are the conversations we don't usually hear. And at the end of the day, your tax dollars are put to use each and every day to do that. You know, from that perspective, there's operational dollars and there's capital dollars. And those the operational dollars, there's not a lot of change usually. What we've seen is an increase in costs on all fronts. Our fuel costs, labor, the supply of materials and goods, inflation has eaten away at us pretty challenging. On the other side, capital costs. We'll be talking about those on next Monday again, and ensuring that, you know, we're trying to keep a lid on things as best as we can, but a lot of things are outside our control. And you know, the interest rate, that is a concern. It's something that we take very seriously at the City Council, because if we borrow money for a capital project, the lower we can get the interest rate, the less that has to be paid. It's that simple. It's no different than anybody's mortgage. If you're out shopping for a mortgage, I think you can relate to that totally and appreciate their concerns as a homeowner or a property owner if you've got a mortgage on your property. We have the same issue going on with capital investments at the city when we borrow money.
Lastly, I just want to touch on 2024 fast approaching. How is Lloyd poised to enter the new year and years following?
Well, 2024 is going to be an exciting year in our city from many perspectives. There's so many things that are coming to the city that have a positive. So first, Cenovus will be doing a major shutdown or turnaround at the upgrader. We're looking at, I understand, 45 days, about 3,000 people involved, which is significant for hotels, restaurants, just even suppliers of materials to the Cenovus Energy Company. From that perspective, the Cenovus Energy Hub is going to continue. You're going to see things start to rise up in 2024. You're going to see that structure happen. So that's there. We've got the summer games coming in 2024. We've got the CPCA finals, the Mr. Nissan CPCA finals. We've got just the oil show, the Lloydminster Heavy Oil Show in September. So there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in 2024, followed by a provincial election in Saskatchewan in October, followed by a municipal election in November for the entire city. So there's a lot of activities that are going to be planned in 2024. You know, I just hope we get some snow in due time and we get some rain and moisture to support our agricultural and ranchers from that perspective, because you can't grow crops and grow grass without moisture. And something I keep an eye on as well, because that has an effect on our community as well. So there's some great things, and I don't want to plant too much pessimism. We'll get there. The snow can come, but I'd sure appreciate it after the first when we start a new budget year, because we did beat up the snow budget pretty good this past 2023.
Well, thank you so much for coming down to the station to talk about this.
It's a real pleasure, and you know, I really wish people all the best in 2023 as we head into 2024, and very excited about where 2024 lies for the city on both sides, because you know, we have one city, but we have two provinces to deal with, the federal government, and we'll continue to navigate those channels as best as we can.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery, downtown Lloydminster.
The growing season for Saskatchewan was less than ideal once again this year, so the Ministry of Agriculture of Saskatchewan had their hands full, but delivered with multiple programs to help out both livestock and crop producers. Our Thomas Wildman has more.
Today, I am very honored to be joined by the Minister of Agriculture for Saskatchewan, the Honourable David Marit. He is here today to talk about the whole year for the Ministry of Agriculture, and so thank you so much for being with me today, David.
Thanks for having me on, Thomas.
And so once again this year, David, it was a bit of a tougher year for agriculture producers in Saskatchewan, whether it was livestock producers not being able to have enough feed, and also crop producers and having less than a preferable growing season. So just talk to me about all the programs that you guys rolled out this year to help Saskatchewan agriculture producers as much as possible.
Obviously, we saw it, especially in the southern part and southwest part of the province, Thomas. We saw dry conditions once again. The good part was, to some degree, is we saw some spring snow that really helped the water situation. We saw some runoff that obviously filled the dugouts in a large part of the southwest and south central part of the province, where we were very concerned about water conditions as well. But as the spring went on, obviously we got into dry conditions, and in some parts of the southwest, south central, they were cutting their hay, and probably the second week of June they started cutting their hay crop, and obviously it was a short hay crop. So we started looking. Obviously through July and August, we reached out to some ranchers and just wanted to find out just how how severe it was. And we saw that, we even saw those conditions. I saw them through my constituency, through Doug Steele's constituency, even right up into the west central part of the province. We saw that. So we were concerned about it, and what we're going to do to help the cattle folks, the livestock producers. So in August, we started looking at what we could do, and then in August, we announced that we were going to help the livestock industry in purchasing feed. So that's what we did, and then in October, the federal government came along, and with their portion, obviously they didn't give us the full 100% of what we were hoping they'd give us. But in total, it's just short of $150 million that's going out to the livestock producers here in the province of Saskatchewan. And that's really to protect the breeding stock. And that's really what we wanted to do. So, the ranchers, some of them are still hauling feed as we speak. So they've got till March to submit their bills. And we will compensate them up to $150 per head. If they're in the zone that the federal government has deemed, we are doing a province-wide on a provincial portion that we will pay to anybody outside of even the zone that the federal government has clarified their portion of it. So that's going to roll out, and hopefully it'll help a lot of the livestock producers in purchasing their feed. And I talked to some ranchers myself, and they're very thankful that we were able to help them out that way.
And David, let's just continue to talk about the livestock relief program that you guys had for the drought season here, that you also had a little bit of help from the federal government about, and just how much of an uptake has that program had in its first year running here in Saskatchewan?
Obviously, we've had quite a few hundreds and probably into the thousands now that have had made applications. But I've talked to some as early as just last week that are still hauling feed, and they're saying, no, we'll get it. We'll make sure we get our bills in probably, and we'll probably start to see those applications really come in January, February. That's when we'll really start to see the applications come in. Once they get all their feed home and purchased that way, then we will see the receipts, and then the checks will be going out. And I'm sure that the crop insurance folks will get the checks out just as fast this time once they receive the receipts as we did in 2021. So I know the uptake will be significant once we see January, February. And I did once again talking to some ranchers, and they actually thanked us for that program. They said it's a significant amount of money. We also, when we saw the devastation on the feed side, we did the same thing as we did in 2021 with the crops. We doubled the yield thresholds to allow if there was a crop that they could write off. For example, if it was spring wheat, the threshold to take it to zero was 5 bushel. We doubled it to 10. So if it's less than 10 bushel an acre, the farmer could make the choice if he wanted to sell that for feed to a rancher or if he wanted to harvest it. It was his choice. And we saw some uptake in that as well, once again. So it just gave an opportunity for ranchers to be able to source feed probably a little closer to home and give them that opportunity as well. So we saw that. A couple other things we did is we froze the lease rates for the livestock producers this year as well, just because we saw what the way the spring was coming in. We were concerned about it. And then we also brought in a program where we allowed the ranchers, if they pulled their cattle off of the pastures early, that we would compensate them up to 50% of the amount of days that they pulled off, up to 50% of their herd. We would compensate it or reduce their rate by that amount as well. So we did what we thought we could do for the livestock producers. I hope I'm sure it's going to be programs that they really do like. And we're starting to see more uptake, especially in the forage rainfall insurance one. We're starting to see more and more producers do that. And we're looking at ways that we can do things better. How do we monitor rainfall, things like that. So we're looking at other avenues and things that we could actually make programs better. Another good significant thing that came out of even the First Minister's meeting down in New Brunswick is we saw the Maritimes have now signed on to the livestock price insurance program. So what we're really hoping for is that we can get this under a national program and see the federal government and provincial governments come in to that program as well.
Thank you so much for all the information, David, and hopefully next year will be a bit of a better growing season for Saskatchewan producers, and of course you guys will do great things continuing here at the Ministry of Agriculture for Saskatchewan.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and all the best in 2024.
That's all for news. Sports is next, but first, here's a look at your closing market.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
It's been an exciting year for the Lloydminster Bobcats, not only in their success on the ice in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, but also in the community. With events both old and new throughout the border city, our Thomas Wildman met with General Manager Nigel Dubé to wrap up 2023.
Today I'm joined by Nigel Dubé, the General Manager of the Lloydminster Bobcats, and he's here today for a year-end wrap-up interview. And so thank you so much for being with me today, Nigel, and throughout the entire year for being so charitable to us and doing lots of stories with us.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Nigel, so we'll start with last season. You guys started out having an exceptional year and made it into the playoffs and had the highest attendance that you've ever had as being the general manager here of the club. Just talk to me about last year and all the successes you guys had in making that playoff series and having just such good attendance back up after the COVID years.
Yeah, I thought for us, right after Christmas last year and into the new year, we had a lot of home games. We saw a rise every game of attendance throughout, and then in February, that's kind of when we peaked going going into the playoffs with our performance too as well. And to be able to play a highway rivalry like Bonnyville down the road, and I think our players are always proud every year to be a part of Lloydminster and the community, and I think the support came back in that form with the attendance that we saw, and getting to 1,600 fans in Game 6 against Bonnyville was a special moment for all the players that put on the jersey that day, for our organization, and something that we'll cherish, just the support that we had. And we've seen that continue on and through the summer and into the start of the season here this year too as well. But we're proud of our team, we're proud of the community, and I think that's a big part of it.
And then now coming into this year, you guys are still being a very successful hockey club, but one big thing that came out in the summer was that you were stepping away from being the head coaching duties, and then you guys have brought in a new head coach alongside Jeff with being the assistant coach. So talk to me about that and how successful the new head coach has been alongside just getting this team back to being very successful with the crowd coming back for this new season.
Yeah, well, for us, going into the 6th season here in Lloyd, I think it was one of those. We had a game plan that we wanted to continue to grow our organization. You'll go back to January last year when we brought in Jeff Wojcicka, and we saw right away the impact he had with our team and the development through our players, and then to add Brad this summer and be able to retain Jeff was a huge piece of that, and the staff here. And there's less hockey trades every year moving forward, it seems, and you really have to be able to develop the players within, and that's what we've set up as a structure here now this season, and continue to see the growth of our players. And it goes back to the attendance and the support too as well. I think we have one of the best schedules in my time here as far as Friday and Saturday games, and being able to have minor hockey come out on the weekends, and that youth, and instead of playing so many weekday games, has really helped our attendance too, and just the connections that our players make with the young ones in hockey school in the summer, and the same kids are coming back and watching now on the ice, and being role models in the community is a big part.
And so last season, and of course a little bit into this season, you guys have introduced a lot of new programming to give back to the community, including the fundraisers for the mental health and as well for the cancer societies and stuff. So talk to me about all those new programs that you're doing, especially giving back to the community, whether it's going to the schools or making money for the various charitable foundations here in Lloydminster.
Yeah, well, a big thing, from day one is that we said that, we want to be a part of the community. We are a community team, and we want to live by that every day. And we also want to give our players the responsibility and the chance to go out and be a part of the community and lead those programs. And you see last year, Buzz the Bobcats, we raised over $30,000, for mental health, youth mental health in the community. The olive tree food drives, the coat drives, the teddy bear tosses, all those things. And, we want to be able to do what we can do to help give back to the community in any way. We have the Student of the Month going again this year. And just every opportunity and initiative that we can, and that the players come up. We'll have another exciting one moving into next year too as well. That's driven by local players, and we're excited for that. So I think it's our job, it's our duty to give back to the community that gives us so much.
And then talk to me about your talk with those local players. How important is it? You guys, of course, bring in lots of great talent from around the area, but also promoting from within here in the Lloydminster area, and just having those local players come and be a big part of the community and the team, and just being a team that represents all of Lloydminster.
Yeah, it's huge. I think you go back to it, you look at last year, Captain Ben Bygrove, right? And he did everything. Unfortunately, he got hurt right before playoffs, but it was a big part of what he wanted to do was to be in the playoff series, and he did that. And we also last year started, the elite development and mentorship with their coaches and players, and same with the minor hockey development. And to be able to start working with those athletes at a younger age and continue to keep them within the community is what we want to do. And now you see out there Kate Fondle, Teague McAllister, Jackson Hopko, Caden Cabana. Those are the things that we want to do, keep that local presence here. And, they looked up to Bobcats when they were young, and now they have the opportunity to be the Bobcat and be the role models for those young ones, and also have a big impact on the ice.
All right, and so just final thoughts, Nigel, on the year, this whole year as a whole, of course, last season and this season just starting out, and then looking forward to next year and some of the big things that you guys are going to hopefully do.
Yeah, I think for us, at the end of the day, you know, hockey is the second piece to it, and the community piece for us is number one, and always will be. We are proud of everything that we were able to accomplish throughout the community in this year, and the partnerships and the growth and relationships that we had throughout that, and we're excited to add more next year again, and also at the same time, you know, work to put a better program on the ice every day, and you know, give the fans something to cheer about, and more importantly, the fans and our, you know, supporters to be proud of.
Awesome. Well, good luck to you and the rest of the Bobcats for next year, and of course, good on you guys for this season. And so we will definitely be covering more Bobcats in the 2024 season, but that will be a good wrap up for the Bobcats here in 2023.
Now, let's look at your agriculture prices. Looking at our weather forecast over the next 7 days. Today, it's still going to be some clouds over the skies and a little bit of sunshine. High of 3, low of -6. Going into the weekend, Friday, high of 2, low of -8. Saturday and Sunday, plenty of sunshine, which is nice. Low of -7 on Saturday and a low of -3 on Sunday, while it gets colder next week. That's all the time we have for you from Primetime Local News. Have a great night, everybody.